to our Facebook Live. My name is Rebecca Matter, and I am here with Michael Katz. Hi, Michael.
Great. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great, and I really appreciate you taking the time today. For those of you who don't know Michael, he came into our AWAI world because he focuses on a very unique specialty in the writing space, and that is working for professional service providers, which a lot of times at AWAI, we talk about persuasion, we talk about copywriting, and we talk about project-specific things. So we talk about emails and case studies and white papers and all of these projects that we do. But what really excited me most about Michael's area of this world, and this world that, not that you created it, but you kind of did for yourself, that it's not about the project per se, although there are some that they all need, but this idea, what's always attached to me is I know these people. These people are around me. I'm connected within just a couple of people, if not directly. Whereas big companies, we think of creative directors and marketing directors and things like that. If I've never worked in a big company before, that's a little bit removed. But when we talk about professional service providers, those are everything. So I'd like to kind of take it from the top, if you don't mind. First, start there. What the heck is a professional service provider? So we know who we're writing for, and then we'll kind of get into your story and answer some questions.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. Well, I guess the place to start is there's people who sell services and there's people who sell products. So, so services includes, going to a restaurant and getting your hair cut. But professional is a subset of that. And, it's a sort of blurry distinction because it might depend on who you ask, but it typically is people who have some specific education that goes with what they do. Often financial planners, consultants, recruiters, leadership coaches, management consultants. So these are people who are selling I was going to say almost always business to business, but not necessarily. But it tends to be like higher ticket items, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So like your nail salon is a service provider, but it's not the same thing as your attorney. And this group of people, where again, there's some people who maybe sort of straddle the line, but I found that the more you fit into this professional services bucket, the better a client you are for those of us who do writing.
I'm going to have to ask why. I really want to get to your origin story, but you kind of left an open hook there.
So a few reasons in no particular order. One is they tend to be really good at what they do. And again, often highly educated and even certified. So your accountant is probably a CPA. Your doctor obviously went to medical school. The attorney passed the bar, went to law school. So these are people who spend a lot of time getting really good at one thing. They might have like 6 or 8 years of, post high school education. What's interesting, and this I stumbled on myself, is they often know like absolutely nothing about marketing and not even a lot about business. Like there's no marketing classes in law school, and your doctor didn't take economics.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's because, it's a good chance your doctor right from the beginning was headed towards medical. And, so people like that, they're smart, they're really good at what they do, but they have this sort of gaping hole when it comes to marketing and certainly writing, because maybe a lawyer needs to be a clear writer, although not necessarily. But so a lot of these people are just not good at it. The other thing, so that's one. The other thing is they don't make money writing. They make money, patients and clients. And, your attorney might be charging $500 an hour. That person doesn't want to spend 3 hours writing something. So they're well aware that this is something they're not good at. And also that every minute they spend doing this, they didn't do something else. Because, these people often bill by the hour. So they have a limited hours. So they're looking to hand it off. And although at first I would be somewhat intimidated by some of my clients. I mean, I've had clients who are, people in biopharma. I had one woman who had like 3 degrees from Princeton and was a hedge fund manager. And I'm like, gee, this is like the smartest human I've ever met. And yet, when you see what they write, you're like, oh, they can't do this. It's writing, as you know, it's hard for a lot of people. So
isn't that interesting? Because we do take it for granted.
Yes, because it's easy for us.
Right.
Take it for granted. It'd almost be like It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't mean you can like dunk a basketball or play the guitar. It's like, that's the thing you have to know how to do. Writing's like that. And they usually know it. And okay, here's one more thing. They make a lot of money, which means paying us is not a big decision for them. I mean, again, not everyone wants to do that. And not every attorney is, makes a ton of money, but as a profession, as a category, professional service providers are making a very good living. And what I found is the smaller portion of their overall expenses that you represent, the easier a decision is for them to outsource that to somebody else. They do a calculation, which I've been doing it long enough that I've been able to ask clients, like, so what were you thinking when you hired me? The calculation they all do. If I get one new client a year, I just paid for you for the whole year. And that's true of a financial planner, an attorney, a doctor, many management consultants. It's not true of someone who runs a nail salon.
Right.
They need to get, they start doing the math and thinking, okay, this person has to get me whatever, 30 clients a month or something. So these people, and again, it may not make logical sense because money is money, but they do this calculation. One new client, I just pay for this guy, and I know I'm going to get one new client. And so when you wrap all that together, they're just a good population to work with. So anyway, that's what I like working with.
Yeah, so that's it, like in a nutshell. You told us they're highly trained, so highly educated, have invested in themselves. They only really make money if they're working on what they get paid for. They don't get paid to write.
Yeah.
They don't really learn about marketing. And that's why I was like, it's kind of crazy because you think about it. I go to school to become a professional service provider. I go to become an accountant. And one option is to go work for an accounting firm. But a lot of people have small business in their mind. They intend to own. A dentist wants to own his own practice, but marketing isn't part of that conversation. That's just so interesting to me because they can be the best dentist in the world, but if they can't put people in the chair, it doesn't matter. Like it's their services. Right. So you've got, they don't understand marketing. They don't want to write. And then this last thing that you said was so interesting. And I hope everybody picked this up. The value of you as the writer. And we talk about value as a writer a lot, but this is just a different lens that I hope all of you writers really take in that your value, it's always in the outcome, right? It's not the thing that you write. It's what the thing that you write does for somebody. And Michael, you've brought something into the room that we don't really talk about because we think about new leads, conversion rates, sales, like that. But how easy to wrap our mind around one new client pays for you for the entire year. Yeah. That for me was like such a big, oh my gosh, okay, I see why I as a writer have value to this professional service provider. And so thank you for bringing that in because it is so different. I'm curious, like how the heck did you fall into this? It wasn't anything that our writers today were like, oh, it's B2B. Let's look at your work experience. And we understand how to pick a niche. But this was when you first brought this to me years ago, it was so out of left field. Like, wait, what? What are we talking about? And at first we talked about newsletters, but really what interested me most is this population of clients. So how did you fall into it?
I really just totally accidental. Well, okay. So I started doing newsletters when I left my job in 2000, my last job. And I was going to do internet, and the internet back in 2000 was like AI is today. Like we know this is amazingly big, but we don't really know what's going to happen.
Right.
But it was like super exciting. Everyone wanted to get involved in it. I had been involved in it in the early stages in my old job. So I was like, I got to get out of here and do more of this. Very similar feeling to AI. And I was going to build websites, but it wasn't really working. But I always liked writing. In fact, I used to write a newsletter in my old company about what the internet was becoming because I was involved in it, and none of the people I worked with knew anything about it. So I used to just write this internal kind of memo thing that I had 40 people who got it, and I would just write about what I saw. There's this company that sells books. They're called, I think it's Amazon. I don't know. And when I left, I left on good terms, so it was fine. I kept writing it. And then people would ask to be added to the list, which again is very common today. But I was like, who are you? What are you even talking? Like, what do you mean added to? It'd be like if someone said, can you add me to the list of your kids' soccer group. You're like, who are you? They're like, I don't care. Sure. So I would add people. And this is just people who wanted to learn more about it. And so it was totally word of mouth thing. And I just kept publishing because I like writing. And then eventually I realized it was the publishing of that thing every 2 weeks, which I still do every 2 weeks, kept bringing people to me. People would be like, hiring me or asking me to speak or whatever. And I was like, oh, this thing is really helpful, which again, you kind of forget, but before email became everywhere, there was no free, easy way to reach out to people on an ongoing basis. Individual people didn't do it. You would have to publish something and pay for it and mail it. So nobody did that. But I started to realize that it was not, since this was free to me, I didn't care who was on the list. I could mail it to as many people as possible. And so that just grew. And then, and this is maybe 2 years in of my kind of failing at this other thing, people started saying, can you help us do a newsletter? And initially I was like, oh, no, I don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. And all I did was copy what I had been doing, in terms of layout.
Like the format. Yeah.
Yeah, like, sure. And then that sort of took off. And then initially I had big clients, Comcast, Harvard, some other, big names that you've never heard of, because they do pay you more. So there's no doubt about it. Big companies pay you more, but I just remember, I'm in a room with like 8 people, 2 attorneys, their communications person, their marketing person, everything I wanted to say or write, they would question or change. And it was like having a job again. And so I eventually was like, no more big clients. And my rule, and so before I got to professional services, I went, I'm going small. And my rule was, there's nobody in the company with the word marketing in their title. Because once there's that person, now they see me as competition. They want to change stuff. It's like, it's what a headache. So the nice thing about working again with an attorney, or, my biggest client is growing. It's a cybersecurity firm. It was like 3 people. Now they're up to maybe 18. But I'm working, I just talked to him today. I'm working with the principal, the guy who owns it. I talk to him every month. I interview him. I write it. He approves it. We can get into the details and then we publish it. But it doesn't matter how many people are working for him. It's me and him.
Right.
As soon as, if this ever happens, he starts inserting a marketing person in there, I'll be like, maybe just let him take care of it. Because just for my personal thing, I don't want all these people in this conversation. And then the professional service just became, I realized that there's all the stuff that's good for me that we talked about. These people need clients. Like, you may not realize that. You may think, oh, if you're an attorney, you just have clients, but they don't just materialize out of nowhere. They need to get them, especially if you're small and go off on your own. And so their problem is, where are they going to get clients from? I don't know anything about marketing. I'm good at law. And so for these people, because they don't advertise, that's not how you hire an attorney. You didn't look up you didn't Google for a pediatrician for your kid. You asked, who do you know?
Right. Yeah.
Word of mouth world. And in that world, something like a newsletter is the perfect tool. Like, I'm usually their marketing department, in the sense that they don't do anything. Yeah, they go to networking meetings and stuff. But in terms of like actually doing a thing overtly that's marketing, this is it. And so, and again, what's so nice is that I'm working with one person, probably half. I've got a dozen clients. Half of them are individuals, and half have some kind of firm of people they work with. But I don't care how big they get, as long as it's me and them. And they're just good to work with in a lot of ways. The other thing is, because they know. Okay, here's a whole other thing.
Okay.
I think you want to hire people who think what you do is magic. Like, the worst customer or client for a carpenter is another carpenter.
Right.
Because that person's like, that's not how I would do it. And they see all the imperfections. And even if they hire you because they're too busy, they're like, yeah, that's okay. If I hire a carpenter or an electrician or a dentist, I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I want people who look at writing that way. And what's funny is that, again, it doesn't correlate with intelligence or education or anything. I want people who are, I have several clients who will send me something and go, some version of, do your magic. I love that. They don't know how to do it. And there's no amount of education, or, you know how it is. A lot of people, most people, I don't know, just can't write well.
I don't want to drill people's teeth. So
exactly. Okay. So you want someone who thinks this is great.
Yeah.
I could never do it. And then, and maybe we'll talk about this too. I make it as easy as possible for them because they just want this thing done. They don't really they don't luxuriate in the words like we all do. They're just like, when are we done? Yeah.
There's so much. It's so funny. I've interviewed you numerous times before, but I am like writing feverishly because there's just loops that you're opening that we just haven't really tackled before. Like, I don't think we ever talked about you're working for bigger companies. In all of our conversations, we've always focused here in the micro level, but not, and I knew where you came from, but there was a piece of the story missing. And so I think that's something else that we all need to pick up is sometimes as writers, we think what a company looks like. We think we would want to work for a company as big as a Comcast, as big as, an airline or these big names. But you're hearing Michael say right now, like, bigger is not better. Bigger is just more people. Like, yes, they pay really well. Right. But a lot of times we talk about the money that you're making and the time that you have to put in. And oftentimes, if you've got a lot more time that you have to put in to get that bigger paycheck, it's not necessarily any better than smaller projects and not, less time for less pay, but it all kind of works out. And so I thought that was just interesting because I don't think we naturally intuitively think, especially when we talk about professional service providers and these smaller firms, we easily can dismiss them and say, oh, they don't have the budget. They're not as good as, but it's not the case. It's the opposite. And your experience. So that's what I want to lead to next then is the work experience of you working for these people. So what does that look like? And this is something I know, but I want you to share with our audience as far as your relationship with these people, because you're one-to-one. And so what are you doing every month with these clients? What does it look like? What does it lead to? What is the output? So the whole kind of story.
Okay. So I think it's a dozen clients, they're all monthly. One client is twice a month.
Okay.
Newsletters. I've done over the years coaching and stuff like that, but newsletters is really my sweet spot. That's what I like. So at this point, I don't have I'm not doing anything except newsletters. Now, I will say, because I'm doing their newsletter, they look at me as their communication person. So they will say, can you rewrite our website? Can you help us with the white paper? So I will do other stuff, but the front door and everything for me anyway is always newsletter. Always monthly. It's all original content. So it's not like I write a newsletter for an attorney and then sell it to 5 attorneys. Okay. Because my view is you need to showcase both your expertise and also your personality and point of view and story. Because again, if you think about the attorney you're going to hire, or your doctor or your financial planner, like, you have no idea how actually capable they are, which is sort of weird.
Because they all have the same letters.
Yeah, like, how good is your doctor? Like, I don't know. Or I've had the same accountant for 25 years. Is she good? How would I even know? Right, I haven't been audited. But so that's one of their main problems, is how do you get more clients as a financial planner when every financial planner is certified, and every doctor went to medical school, and every attorney passed the bar. The more certifications they have, the harder it is for them to differentiate, which is also, when I realized that, I'm like, whoa, it's really hard to get clients unless you have some way to demonstrate who you are and what you know. And so the newsletter, I interview them. So I should say, of the 12, I think it's about 50-50 split. Half of them, I interview them. So I talked to this guy today that I talk to every month. He's a cybersecurity guy. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? So we've already done all this work about what's it going to look like, what's it called, who's your audience, and all that, this kind of pre-work. And now he's got this thing. And so it's like, okay, this month, what are we going to talk about? So this month, he wants to talk about what things your employees need to do to make sure their security is where it should be, like multi-factor authentication and other stuff like that. So I pride myself in knowing nothing. So I get on the phone with this guy, Rob, and I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And he starts talking. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, you said this. What about that? So I force myself in that 35, 45-minute call to get enough information out of him that I can write some. And every professional, they could talk for days on their stuff. I need to chip off like a little bit of their knowledge. Okay, this one thing about employees we're going to talk about today. And again, I've been doing it long enough that I know when I have enough. I just go, okay, what do you mean by this? I don't get that. And then I'm like, okay, so give me an example of how this might work. And I'm like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just taking notes the whole time. I mean, you could record it, but I find it's hard to go through a recording. I just write it down.
Yeah.
And once I have enough, I go, okay, I have enough. I go off and write it. And then I go, here you go. And my goal is that I've written it in their voice. It's their knowledge. I don't do any research because I'm just trying to pull it out of them. I always use the metaphor that they're an orange and I'm a juicer. Like I bring no value. I just get it out of them. Their problem is you can't drink an orange.
Right.
They know all this stuff, but it's like, it's filled usually with jargon. And, I have one client who's brilliant, but man, that guy does not think, in order. And so when he talks, it's just like, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so I turn it into normal things. I send it back and go, how's this? My goal is that they go, perfect. Now,
because it feels like them, it sounds like them. It's what you guys talked about.
And I haven't misrepresented some aspect of cybersecurity, whatever.
Right.
I also make a big deal about I want their personality in it. Like I'm always saying, if AI could write this, it's no good. It can't just be the answer to this question of, multi-factor authentication or whatever, because anyone could write that. I mean, a machine could write that now. Certainly any other cybersecurity person could write that now. So in the case of Rob today, we start with, my clients have learned they need a story for me. So we started with a story about how he tried to connect the TV in his living room and, it didn't work or whatever. I used to think this too. Who's got time to listen to some guy's story about the TV in his living room? I don't care. I just want the facts, but it's not actually true. It's way more interesting and actually easier for people to take in information when the whole thing is wrapped inside of like, here's what happened to me today. So that whole thing becomes this, 800 words of stuff. We might have some secondary sections, like, a little 3 paragraphs on some technology or something. Anyway, once he approves it, me, along with my tech guy, put the whole thing in MailChimp and there's images and blah, blah, blah. And then I send him a proof and I go, here you go. And again, I hope they go great. And if they do, I schedule it and away we go. The other half clients, it's almost the same thing, but we have that first conversation. And when we hang up, they have to go write the first draft. And I found, so first of all, it's cheaper. So I charge less for that.
Okay.
Because they have to look at the blank screen, not me. But I've helped them like, okay, so you're going to tell this story, then you're going to make this point, then you have these 3 examples. And at that point, it's kind of all over the map. Some people, they just give me something back and it's like, bleh.
Words on a page.
It's just like information. Other people, it's okay, but usually not that good, too much information, too much about themselves. To me, that's why I like doing this. That's the game to me. It's like, give me a bunch of junk and let me turn it into something good. And then same thing. I do it. I go back to them. What do you think? They go, great. Or they go, change this, or you made this wrong or whatever. And I charge everybody the same amount. I mean, there's 2 categories, the interview people and the write themselves people, but everybody's flat fee. So some people it's easier than others because they want more changes, so they're harder to work with or something in terms of the work. But I'm like, I don't care. I don't need to monetize every second of the day. And I find it also simpler because they know what it's going to cost.
Right.
Running. And again, small businesses like that. They want to know what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So, and also I know what my income's going to be before the month begins. So I've got 12.
Which is a huge thing. I mean, I got bullets for days of things I want to follow up and ask you, but that is a big piece of this, in that because you're flat fee, because it is this job, and they can ask you to do other things and you can charge for that, I'm guessing, separately.
Right.
But in general, your baseline income every month because it's this amount of people times this rate.
And
we're done.
They stick around forever. My longest running client, it's well over 20 years. It might be like 24 at this point. She's also my attorney.
Perfect.
That's how it began. She was my attorney. And then she said, I need a newsletter. But, I got one person who's 10 years, another person who's 8. I had a guy who was 15, just retired. And so, I haven't taken on a new client in like 2 years because I'm full.
And I think that's a big thing I want you all to take away also, you all being listeners, is that these clients are staying with you for such a long period of time. But so there's none of this like having to market yourself and having to get all this other stuff. And I do want to talk about marketing because I think it's important for those of us who are just starting, like to understand how they might find those first few clients. So I'll ask you about that in a bit. But I not only do I like the idea of the client sticking with you, but being able to build those relationships over time, that feels good to me. Being able to predict my income, that feels good to me. And the fact that you were just saying last year you were just writing for clients. I think a lot of people in this space, when we talk to experts, they have this business and that business and this revenue stream and these programs and this all these things. So if you're looking for a clean, what appeals to me most is it's so direct, it's so clean, it's such a simple business. This is not a complicated, multifaceted, multi-revenue stream, blah, blah, blah. It just is, I interview the person, I do work. Like that's it. And it's enough. And you're able to sustain no matter what everyone's been talking about. And we got a couple questions about AI. So I'll ask you about AI as well. AI was going to take all the jobs. It's, all your clients should be just using AI and writing their own newsletters. So can we actually just touch on that? I see a question in the chat right now. Do you take a hybrid approach between human touch and AI, or are you, what is your AI policy, if you will?
Well, if I had AI, write for me, I like writing. That's what I like to do. There's nothing I like better than when that client sends me that bleh, and I get to sit in my office and drink coffee and just play with it. Again, I think I'm not unusual as someone who likes to write. Like, you can't put something written in front of me without me wanting to in my mind, fix it. So the only time I use AI for clients is when I don't understand something. So sometimes the person will talk about blah, blah, cybersecurity or some, biofarm. The biofarming people, they're the most jargon-filled people on earth. If you can make a word more complicated, they will use it. So sometimes I'm like, geez, I don't even know what she's talking about here. And I'll just put an AI, like, what is red? And they'll be, okay, here. And I'm like, okay. But I don't use it to create any content. I guess you could, but I don't know. So anyway, that's my use of AI,
So for that, again, simple question, simple answer. This has to be the simplest path forward as a writer, just because it is like this. I love this. I love the relationship piece. And then I also want just to highlight this idea of not knowing being a positive thing. What have you called it in the past? It's like the curse of knowledge.
Right. Which I didn't come up with that, but yes, like occasionally I've had, back when I was, starting or when I was getting more clients, someone might say, have you ever worked with a financial planner before? At this point I've worked with everything there is, but my answer was always some variation of, it doesn't matter because you're the one with the information. I don't go figuring it out, because again, these people know everything there is to know. Their problem is they know too much. And because I don't know anything, it allows me to say, because again, you have to think about who's their newsletter for. So my attorney's newsletter isn't for other attorneys. So we spend time figuring out who's your target audience. So in her case, it's small business owners. So actually, in this case, it's somebody like me. Like, I've heard of legal stuff, but I actually didn't go to law school. So she can't start talking about stuff that a non-lawyer would know. And so my lack of knowledge is helpful because I ask someone to explain something. I don't let her go too deep in the weeds on this or, the cybersecurity guy. It's like, you got to keep it at the level that the audience is going to understand. And the audience is almost always not a peer of these people. It's a potential client of these people.
Right.
And none of our clients, and, again, whether you're a doctor or plumber or whatever, they don't know what you do. So again, my stupidity is my value add.
But that's, one of the first things we teach our writers when we train them is to know your reader. And that's hard if you have a very complicated, your job is to be the best cybersecurity expert. Your job is to be the best biopharmaceutical person. Like, your job is to have so much knowledge. it's not to relate to the person who needs the service. It's to do the best job that you can. And I could see that gap between me understanding all of this stuff and trying to explain at a dinner party what the heck, like you said, blah 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 cybersecurity. Everybody would glaze over because they don't understand what you're saying. You're just saying words.
And that's another reason why, because we should talk about, why don't they just go to AI?
Yes,
why do they need
that
me?
is a question we get in every single webinar.
Right. So one thing is, because they don't know what they know. They don't know what a person outside their field needs to know. Like, and initially, I'm always having to tell them, because they, again, you went to law school or you have an MBA from Harvard or wherever, you want to sound, you've been trained to sound smart.
Right.
And I'm telling them, no, I need this simplified. And so if they didn't have me constantly telling them, what do you mean by this, or what is this, it would be really difficult for them to even get that orientation to begin with. The other thing is,
that's interesting.
I have no doubt that AI will reduce the number of people who hire someone like me, because some people are going to do it themselves. It's sort of like, okay, when the internet came out, I'm sure there's some people who previously would have hired a plumber who are doing it themselves.
Right.
So why are there still plumbers and electricians and car mechanics when you can just get on, YouTube and there's a guy doing it? Because I don't want to electrocute myself and I don't know how I'll do it. So, it's sort of the same thing here. That those people, some of them, and I think a lot of them, certainly more than 12, which is frankly all I need. It's like, you don't need thousands of clients. There's a large portion of the population for anything that people are like, do it for me. You're going to do a better job, and I don't want to do it. That's why there's still travel agents. Why, how could there possibly be travel agents? Well, because a lot of people are like, here, just give me a trip. So I don't think that's a realistic problem for people like us who are not trying to create, if you're trying to get a huge organization and you had hundreds of writers, then I think that becomes a real issue. But the numbers are so small that you need. And again, the people stick around forever, that it's just, I don't think it's that hard to kind of get up to speed. One more thing on the relationship thing. It's not just about the business side. It's really nice. In fact, I was at home just now because my office isn't in my house. I was at home when I talked to Rob, my client. I'm not usually at home. My wife was there. I'm talking to the guy for 35 minutes. I'd say a good half of it was about basketball. It's like, what are you doing? These kids are playing. I'm like, oh. Afterwards, she's like, was that a client? Yeah, because I've been with him like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I know he's got 2 kids. I know he coaches their basketball. So you get to know people really well. It's once a month. They know you, you know them. It's like very pleasant. You have to be careful about who you pick as a client because they're not going anywhere. So that is one thing.
But that's actually a big fear of writers too. And I do want to talk about that just briefly, is that if you don't like a client, I mean, there's so many. When you think you have 12, but realistically 6 would be great for most people for the income that they're trying to make. That could be a 6-figure income with 6 clients. Right. Sure. And to be able to say, I don't like this person. Yeah. I'm going to let that person go. And there's other ones that I can replace. Or if they don't like you, it's okay too, because there's other people who can replace them.
I think that's just, you get better at it after a while. Like when I've talked to people about a problem client and I'll ask, were there red flags before you started? And they're always like, yeah. I knew this person wasn't quite right.
Oh, really?
Didn't like how they treated me, how they talked. They just showed up late for stuff, were reluctant to give me a deposit up front. I mean, again, after a while, you see those people coming and you just sort of can step out of the way and be like, I mean, it's rare that I think I've twice in 25 years had to literally fire somebody. Like, I'm not working with you anymore. And, I'd say 1 out of 10, I've had to be like, I don't think, actually say, I don't think we're a good match here. But usually, you can just sort of get out of the way. Like, I think what you need is someone like this. Or,
someone else.
Yeah. And they don't even realize that you're doing that. Because again, you got to make sure you match with them because you're going to be with them for a while. And usually it's not that there's something like bad about them. It's just like, I don't like this. I will say one red flag for a lot of times I'll say to people after they, because people call and they want a newsletter and we talk. And at some point I always say, why don't you just do this yourself? Which people think like, why would you ever say that? And I'm like, they've thought of it. It's not like I just said, and what I want to hear is, because I'm a terrible writer, because if I do it, it won't come out right. What I don't want to hear is, I don't have the time. The I don't have the time guy thinks he's a good writer. Now, he may be or he may not, but that person doesn't see like the magic. I want the person who's like, I don't know how you did that. So I'm always looking for like, why are you here? And again, that reveals a lot about, is this a person I want to work with? And again, everybody's different who they want to work with, but I like people like shooting the breeze, like talking about basketball. Now, some people are like, oh, you're wasting time. But I'm like, to me, it's like, that's what I'd like to do, mixed in with all the other stuff,
It's funny, even guys, when I interview Michael, sometimes the camera will go off and then we'll just sit and talk for a while. Like that genuine, just kind of curiosity. I just saw something pop up, Jay, but I didn't have a chance to. Is it just a comment? Oh, hey, Cammie. One of my clients is a travel agency, not only still in biz, but demand for travel agencies is growing again. Been writing their monthly newsletter for going on 10 years. Yeah, so good. Same page. And I know I want to talk about your program. And Jade, if you can put a link up, but we have a couple questions I want to layer in, especially around the getting clients piece. If you guys are interested in pursuing this, Michael's program, awai.com/learn from Michael, it's so good. And I mean, obviously I get very excited about things, but this for me is, if you've been looking for a path, if you have been writing for a while or thinking about writing for a while, and it just seems like there's so many options. It's so wonderful that there are so many options. When AWAI started 29 years ago, by the way, Michael, 29 years this year. Wow. When we started, we taught sales letters. That was the opportunity. And then it was the internet and social media, and now like AI, it's just more and more opportunities. It can get overwhelming at times, and you could still do all of those things. But what I love about this is it is the simplest path. When I was driving home today to interview you, I literally was in my car musing, like, I could do this. I really could become a professional service provider writer. Yes. And that would be such a simple business to run. Yes. So I might see you guys in the program, because it has it all. It has from intake, it has marketing, it has how to write, it has all of the things. It's really what I like to call a business in a box. It's not about learning how to write a newsletter, which it is in there also, but it is the full picture from beginning to end. So let's get into a couple of those. So really quick though, Sandy does want to know, how long do these newsletters tend to be as far as length goes? Oh,
so my typical format is, and not to say this is the only way to do it, is because again, I wanted to feel like something personal. So there's always, well, I have to take a step back. It has a title. Like I want it to feel like a magazine, not an ad. So the newsletters, we come up with a name. So the cybersecurity guy, his is called Tales from the Click, which if you're old enough, it used to be Tales from the Crypt. And it actually has this like hand pushing a button. Somebody else where he's where it's called like through the lens. She's a leadership coach. But anyway, whatever it is, we give it a name. Then we have an opening top thing, which I think of almost like, again, if you're old enough, where you put a sticky note on an article before you like mailed it to somebody. Where it's like, hi, today we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. It's really important, whatever. Click reply to tell me, what you think, signed by that person's picture. Half the people are like, oh, I don't like my picture on it. And I'm like, hey, my picture's on my newsletter, and look what I'm working with. You need to show that. Nice. You need to make it personal. Okay, then there's the main article. I'm not a fan of click to read. Like, I like the whole thing in it. There's arguments on both sides. And I'd say, 700, 800, 900 words for the main article. Now, there's always been this, like, nobody likes to read. It's too long. It's too short. I mean, I've seen the pendulum swing back and forth like a million times. It needs to be long to show that you know something. It needs to be short because nobody reads. I'm like, it's got to be long enough that you can tell the story about the TV in your living room, And you can give me something that when I'm done reading it, I'm like, I just learned something about cybersecurity or law. I mean, it has to be useful. It's not as much as I love telling some stupid story. If I stopped, you'd be like, what am I reading this for? So it's always like intro story, and that relates in this way to some insight. And again, I find it say 700 to 900. And then usually we've come up with a couple of standing sort of hors d'oeuvre secondary sections. So like the cybersecurity guy always has what he calls a pro tip, where he's kind of in the weeds. And it'd be like 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs of something, that nobody but a person who really cares would care. I have a guy who does like leadership strategy. He reads a lot of stuff. So it's always some article he read about, solar batteries or some weird thing. I have a few people who actually have a thing on like a book they recommend.
I love that. Yeah.
You might be like, my attorney, she recommends a book. Like, what? Who cares, right? Because that creates a personal connection. And she loves to read, so she always has a book. So there's usually that kind of thing, 1 or 2 sections, and then that's it. You got the copyright and the stuff at the bottom, and then we send it out. I'm kind of half and half with MailChimp and Constant Contact these days, and I got a couple people on some weird stuff, but it doesn't really matter. All of that stuff, the technical stuff, is intended for non-technical people. But if you don't want that, so I have a tech guy, just because I'd rather he set the stuff up in MailChimp than me, so I can do some other thing. And then I go in and whatever, play with it. I want to be the last person to touch it, but you can outsource cheaply the tech stuff if that's intimidating. And then that's it. And then we publish it, and then I leave him alone for 2 weeks, and then I'm back. So Rob, we talked today, his newsletter will publish 2 weeks from today. So that gives me time to write it and send it to him and back and forth. And then we, set the whole thing out. I find 2 weeks is about the right lead time. It's a very nice, like predictable once a month. Yeah. I mean, the guy, the company, it's like an 8-person recruitment firm that does twice a month. That's a lot. That's like, you never really get to catch your breath with them. It's 2 principals. They alternate who writes. I wouldn't want more than a couple of those, because once a month is nice. You kind of take a breath. I mean, if I have 12 clients, so that's whatever, like 3 a week.
Yeah. I
mean, I could, if I really wanted to, I could do 20 people, but I don't want to work that hard. But yeah, I could manage, 5 a week if I had to.
Well, let's talk a little bit about clients. And I know you cover this extensively in the program. Like, again, one of the things I love about your teaching is it's not just about the what, it's the why and the how from the beginning, and then the why and the how at the end. So how do we bring the right clients in? How do we intake and onboard so that we set up for these easy conversations? How do we write? Like, so all of that's included in the course, guys. It is such a well-done course, and it is Michael all the way through. But can you give us kind of a little bit of just top level? If I'm just starting out, like, what is your advice for landing my first few clients who have the right budgets and aren't doing it themselves?
Well, so I live and always have in a complete word of mouth world, which I think we all do. So I would start with people people who are attorneys and financial planners and consultants. And I don't mean you have to go up to them and go, do you want to hire me? But I would interact with as many of those people in your neighborhood, your brother-in-law's college roommate, and just talk to them about where do your clients come from? Because the answer you usually get from those professionals is, I don't really know. I network. I mean, it's rare to go up to a random solo person. I would start with the solo people, because what happens is you're working in a law firm for 10 years and decide you want to go off on your own. So you go off on your own, and now you're like, I need clients. But I don't know anything about marketing or any of this stuff. So again, these are smart people who are very educated, but it doesn't mean they know how to build their own business. So I find the solos tend to be the most lost. And I don't know that I've ever talked to a person I probably have a person like that and said, what's your marketing plan? You get like a deer in the headlights, like, go to networking meetings and, see what happens. I mean, so when you show up with, look, what about this idea? I find if I suddenly lost all 12 clients and needed to get more, that would be my approach. I try and talk to professionals Just about, tell me about your marketing. Like, have you ever thought about a newsletter? Oh, nobody reads email. Really? You know that 99% of people read email at least once every single day. So that's a whole nother thing that nobody reads anymore. I'm like, well, somebody's reading Harry Potter.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so do I. And again, you don't need a ton of people. So that's, in terms of where to look, I'd start with people you know who are in these professions, just to kind of find out, what are you doing? What would you think if I did this kind of thing? Like, I have a very soft approach to any kind of selling. I just ask people, tell me about what you're doing.
I think that's where I would like, so let's even take that for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, I have to like network and talk to people. Like, think about it that way. It's like a half step. You're just doing like a reconnaissance mission. We're just finding out, even if you don't even think it all the way through to, I might write their newsletter, just think about who you're going to interact with in the next couple of weeks. Like, my neighbor over there is a lawyer. I could ask him that question. I could ask how his solopreneur lawyers, the ones who are in single practice. I could go to my dentist in 2 weeks. My son has a doctor's appointment. Like, just being able to practice having that conversation with people who are already in your orbit might get you used to like putting it in your mouth. Nowadays, I can't go to any business and not ask them about their marketing, because I am so interested and people want to know what what do you do? This is what, tell me more about that. And my husband will literally grab me by the arm at times when we're together. Don't do it. We're not going to help this business. Like, you don't get to talk to people today. Just let it go. But maybe that could be the homework, guys, is to just practice getting it in your mouth. How do you find your clients to any professional service provider you come across? And then telling, Michael, you've always been a big fan of even just pushing through everyone that you do know, talking and saying, this is what I want to do. Do you know anybody? So that your network is connecting them to and can you tell us, don't you have that strategy? I remember, maybe you've changed it, but from years ago, you just put everybody into a list and you go through like a few every week and start back at the beginning. It's like the most simplistic. Can you share that? Because I think,
let me just talk one more thing about
you gotta have like a magic button, but there's
the thing you were saying before. There was a book, I don't even know if it's still around, called "What Color Is Your Parachute?"
I remember that. That was one of the
that was like the Bible of getting a job. I mean, in like the 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
And the concept was, you don't get a job by looking in the want ads. You get a job by talking to people who put you in contact with people. And the last time I got a job, that's how I did it. And the concept was, you interview people. I mean, back then you could literally call somebody up and go, can I come in and talk to you for 20 minutes? I remember doing this, just about I'm looking to get into a new thing. I just want to learn about your industry and what you do. I'm not selling you anything.
Yeah.
And you'd go to people and you'd say, tell me about what, you'd interview them. And you had to resist the urge to talk about yourself too much. And then the idea was, like, every time you left, your goal was to leave with 2 more names of people. And so it would like grow. But the concept was, I don't know if he came up with the term informational interviewing. You're just looking for information. And so I'd go to an attorney and go, again, I'd be like, can I ask you about your marketing? I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to figure out what I might want to do. Where do your clients come from? What do you actually do? And so what happened, and by the way, can you recommend some other people I can talk to? And again, half those people that will never talk to you, but some of them will. If somebody, I get people who contact me because they knew somebody I knew. Can I talk to you for 20 minutes? And again, as long as 20 minutes doesn't become an hour, I'm like, sure, I don't care, sure. What happens though, is as you're talking to people, they go, tell me more about what you would actually do. And next thing you know, they're actually trying to figure out if they could buy this thing from you. So you have to be willing to just like wade into it. You're not going to know what to say, and you don't have to close them and all this kind of stuff. Initially, you won't even know how to price it or anything. And I think it's even okay to say, I haven't done this yet, but I'm thinking of trying this. Can I work with you? And maybe you don't do anything for free.
Good. Okay.
Like, you're like, oh, I'll do it for free, and nobody values anything for free. So you have to charge something. And okay, you'll have a client that you didn't charge enough of. And what matters is you have people paying you money for doing writing. You'll figure out the rest as you go. Like, you don't have to know everything right up front. But if you worry too much, or if you spend all your time sort of setting the table and never like inviting everybody over for dinner, it won't go anywhere. You need to be in the game to figure this stuff out.
And again, in my experience, people want to help people. And so when you ask to connect to somebody, and that's the ask, like, I'm just doing some research in this area, asking them the questions. Do you know 2 other people that I can ask? I'm just doing research. Like, it's such a soft way, even for us writers, to enter this space, to not be thinking like, I gotta like have this sales call and have my closing points and how I'm gonna stick that landing. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, your job is just to see if you can get 2 more contacts. That doesn't feel stressful. And so,
and the stepping stone is always a person you know.
Yeah.
So it's harder.
So recommended me.
Like, if you just got on LinkedIn and said, "Can I talk to you?" You know, there's so much spam and stuff out there. That's hard. But if you said, the best would be, you send someone an email and you copy, Rebecca, and you go, "Hey, Rebecca said I could talk to you. Would you mind talking to me?" So now they know it's legitimate. And then again, that person can become the stepping stone to the next person. And don't feel bad. I'm not kidding. Half the people will never respond. But some will. And then you're kind of off and running.
That's another, just like, let that ego piece go. Like, it doesn't matter. We don't need everyone to respond. It's like social media, people liking your posts. You don't need them to. You don't need anyone to like your post. The reality is, if you're posting on LinkedIn, you're doing it for people who are looking at your profile, not necessarily trying to get volume of likes. So it's the same here. Your job is just to be curious and be interested in this. So Sandy's saying, how do you market if you don't have much of a network? Just use the one you have to start. Because even if you know 3 people, now you're going to know 3 plus 6. I'm doing math. 2 plus 2 plus 2.
Right.
And then going from those 2, if you can get half of those people to respond, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And then, it can, so how fun of a project would that be, guys, to open up a spreadsheet, put the few people that you know in, and say, I'm going to talk to them within the end of this month or the end of this week. Bonus points. If you get it done by Sunday, you're going to go to your PTA meeting, your soccer game, your church, like whatever you're going to be this weekend. There's someone that you talk to who does something. I was actually shocked when you said you have a leadership coach as one of your clients, because again, we have these stories in our head. A leadership coach doesn't write their own newsletter. Cybersecurity expert, fine. Leadership coach, like, that's what they do. And even they don't want to write their own newsletter. It's just interesting. So talking to everybody and saying, where do you get your clients from? I'm just curious. Entering a new business myself, small business to business, right? We're both professional service providers. Help me understand like what I need to, that's, again, simplest path forward. It deals with all of our psyche and our mindset stuff and the stories that we tell. And it's amazing. So Michael, any closing advice for anybody who wants to do this? Anything about the program? Like, what would you say? I've been watching this interview. I'm like, yes, first of all, I want to be Michael's friend, because who doesn't?
Oh, right.
And right next to that, I want to do this. I want to be like Mike.
Yeah.
Does anyone call you Mike, by the way? Or are you Michael?
I'd say half the people I know call me Mike.
Really?
Not that I've ever volunteered it, but it's one of those names people just like to shorten. That's fine. I think it's funny. I hadn't thought about what you said, which is that it's such a simple business with so few moving parts that I just find it so easy to do, just the fact that, okay, every week I'm talking to 3 people, 4 people. It's on a nice schedule. The monthly thing is sort of very nice. You can do it anywhere. It's funny. I used to go meet my clients if they were local.
Like for coffee or something?
No, I'd like, if you were a new client and I live in Massachusetts, if you were, within an hour, I'd go, or even more, I'd go to your office the first time. I've got clients now who live, I have a client who lives a half an hour away. I've never met her.
Isn't that wild?
Nobody expects, which is a nice thing about, since post-pandemic, like nobody even expects you to come see them. I do meet people for lunch and coffee and stuff as a marketing thing. And I email people all the time just to sort of check in, because as you were starting to say before, and then I interrupted you, in addition to publishing my own newsletter, my networking is I just stay in touch with people all the time. I'm just emailing them. I think I emailed you at the turn of the year, Rebecca, and just said,
I was going to say,
and here we are. So it's funny.
It's like, how did the year close? How did it start? Like, there's so many great touch points throughout the year that just give you reason to reach out to somebody. Oh, summer's ending, back to school. Like, how's things going? And that's how we're here right now.
And people are very concerned about, they're going to reach out to someone. What are they going to think? It's one thing to reach out to someone and go, I just lost my job. Here's my resume. Can you send it around? And I haven't heard from them in 5 years. But when you reach out and you're just saying, hey, Happy New Year or whatever, what have you been up to? Nobody's like, what are you doing? People are
Why
glad.
would you ask me that? That's a lot.
People are glad to. It's, I read something somewhere, I don't even know where it was recently, saying that you have to be willing to look like a fool by reaching out to somebody, but they would like to reach out to you, but nobody wants to do it. And that the more you get comfortable, just, you know, and this is true for saying hello to people in the supermarket or whatever, like nobody wants to be the one to do it. But the more you do it, you find that everyone's just waiting for somebody else to do it. So it's just a very pleasant way, I find, to keep your business rolling, because I don't go after people. I just, you know, say hello.
You're just nice in the world.
It's very nice to do. Yeah.
I'm reading that book, Let Them by Mel Robbins, that was really popular last year. And I kind of resist pop culture type books that become phenomenons, but you know, recommended, finally read it. And what she talks about is in a section about making friends, and it's networking. It's called You Go First. And that that idea of like, everybody wants to connect, but somebody has to go first. And so she uses the most simplistic example. She had moved to a rural town, needed to make friends, went to the coffee shop, and finally asked the barista, what is your name? And she opened up her contacts, put in the name of the restaurant and the barista, beard, name, sat it on a table, turned to the couple next to her that she sees every single day in the coffee shop. Hi, I'm Mel. I'm new to town. What's your name? And these relationships build simply by saying, like, this is what I just want to say hi. That's not a very hard thing. And you never know where it leads. So last question is from KN Goff. Do you recommend having a website? So from a marketing, we get this question every webinar. From a marketing perspective, do you need a website?
Right. You know, I could be working with old information on this one, because I always have recommended a website, because to me that's sort of, well, I feel like it's a sign of legitimacy. It's a sign of that you didn't just wake up yesterday and create a LinkedIn profile. I feel like it looks, you know, it just makes you look like you're in it for real. You know, and also if you have a website, you're going to have a URL. You're not going to be like, you know, michael@gmail.com, which is, again, a sign of just sort of you're half in it. They're not that expensive anymore.
You can really have it built in a couple hours with AI.
Yeah, you need, like, you know, a bio. And the other thing is, if you start writing a newsletter, it lives there.
Yeah.
You start getting clients, testimonials live there. So I'm very biased towards that. Although I have to say, my first go-to place if I meet somebody new these days is LinkedIn, just to check them out.
Right.
Because LinkedIn,
who do I know that knows you?
Well, it's just like, if I get LinkedIn, I can see where you've worked and where you live. And so, whereas websites are often a little bit like hard to tell, but I'm still very much in favor of that. I was just thinking, like, when I hired I actually hired a new financial planner last year. A new accountant. I outgrew my accountant, my old accountant. And I went to the guy's website to just check him out. And if he didn't have one, even though it was
weird
by a friend, it would have been weird. So I think so.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you so much
Great
thank you for emailing me at the beginning of the year, which brought us to here.
See, that's what happens. Wait till next year. I'll send you on.
Thank you. I hope you all do take this program, especially if you're looking for your first path, or you've been in this space for a while and you're just looking for something a little more structured. You know, I like structure. I'm a very structured person, and I like the structure and simplicity of this business. And the program is a complete business in a box. It's everything from the marketing to the writing to to managing the clients. Everything that you need is in there. So if you're on the fence considering, I mean, just give it a shot. We have an amazing guarantee anyways, where you can still go through it and see, you know, what it is for you. But again, if you've been on the sidelines, this is a great year for writers. Like Michael was talking about last year, he was just writing for clients. He didn't have all these complicated business that he just wrote for clients and did just fine. So it's such a clean path forward. So I hope you give it a shot. Sandy's saying this was great. Thank you so much. I agree, Sandy.
Thank you. I agree.
Yes. All right, Michael. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
All right,
I'll
everybody.
see you next
Good
time.
to see you. All right.
Bye, everybody.